You're listening to the Run the Riot Podcast, where we talk about all things ultra running. I'm your host, David Terrio, and man, I'm pumped that you are here. Let's see what we can get into today. All right, today on the Run the Riot Podcast, we got Lauren Callahan. What's going on, Lauren?
Hey, David. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. We were just talking before we started recording. You're in Louisiana, I'm in Oklahoma, and it's hot both places.
Yeah, dear God, it's debilitatingly hot.
I don't think people realize the South Louisiana humidity. They say they know, but they don't know.
Yeah, and actually, I think like mentally I know, right? But my husband and I did a run recently in Texas, and I know like Texas is like hot as hell too, and can be incredibly humid. But the day and the place that we went, it actually wasn't humid. It was very hot, but it wasn't humid, and I felt like I could run forever. I was like, wow, this is amazingly different.
Yeah. When I was training in Lafayette area, and I just remember opening the door to walk outside, and it was just like a wave of moist heat. Even before the sun came out, it was just, but it helped me to train for when I go other places. Like my cardio was off the charts from running in the suck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's a balance for sure. It's, building up your, stress tolerance and, training for the suck. And then also you can completely overdo that too and stress your body to no end. So there's a fine line in the middle there.
Yeah. Well, so we were also talking, before we got on, you and I was on your podcast, the Run Try Monk, and this was, it ended up being, and it was unintentional, but it ended up being a gratitude episode right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. That was a great podcast. I enjoyed it.
It was. I loved the insight that you brought. And yeah, it just happened to get posted around Thanksgiving. And I think in your newsletter, which I love your newsletter, you mentioned, you connected the dots for me, like gratitude and Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
that's what, yeah. And I'll make sure, and I'll put the link to that in the show notes if anybody wants to go and check it out. Hey, it's not Thanksgiving, but we can have gratitude. We should have gratitude all year round.
Yes. Daily.
Yeah. So what have you been up to? I know when we talked, you were training and things. So what's been going on as far as running and in your life? What's been happening?
Yeah. So, when we talked on the podcast, I was in the middle of getting ready to get my very first 100-mile belt buckle. And I have to say, I've not gotten it yet. That's still in the works for me.
There you go. You said though. I like that's positivity.
Yeah,
I got it. Yeah. All right.
Exactly. And I have tried. So that the intention now is that is going to happen in the fall. But they have all been learning experiences.
Yes.
And yes, I very much so. Like they truly have been. Like that's not just a consolation prize.
Yeah.
They truly have been amazing learning experiences. And what I have to say. Sorry, I feel like I'm a little all over the map answering your question, but I was getting ready to run in Tennessee. So when we talked, and that was my first 100-mile attempt. And I have to say though that just attempting that race. I've been asked since then, what's your favorite distance? And I say every time without blinking, 100 miles. And I've never done it, but it's my favorite distance.
That's right. That's
because
awesome.
it just was such a beautiful experience. And I think one of the things that I was most nervous about was running into the night, right? Like, that's intimidating. Sure, you can train, and it's not like I hadn't run in the dark before with headlamps. Like, I've done all the things. I've had like owls swoop across my face, I've done this, right? But it still made me nervous running through the night. And I don't know what it was. It was like a light switch. So like once, no pun intended, but once the lights went out and it was dark.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. It was just the most beautiful experience. It was like totally existential for me. And I was like, I love this. I love running at night under the stars, and I want to do this all the time.
That's cool. So you embraced what you feel, and you just kind of like, oh, this is not so scary. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really beautiful. So,
well, listen, if if you listen to the podcast, like I don't mind, like I share, I did a whole episode on when I DNF'd at Moab, and I share the good, but I also share the bad. It's not all Instagram and all the good stuff,
thank
and
the Lord that you and others are doing that too.
yeah. Well, because we don't want to paint a false picture, and we all have struggles, and if somebody can learn, I learned, and exactly what you said, I learned from my mistakes. Like that's what I coaching runners, and if I could run it for the athletes I coach, I wish I could, but sometimes everything can go perfect in training, everything can be great, all the preparation, all the logistics, and you still fail. But I say fail, but you don't finish. Yeah, you either finish or you learn. And like you said, if you come away with, okay, I know these things went right, this went horribly wrong. I won't make that mistake again. Yeah. And so I would like for you, if you don't mind, share what happened, what went right, and what went wrong.
Sure. And, my God, like, I love how this has already taken this direction. I love that you said that. So I want to maybe mention like the reason that I reached out to you, and then we can transition to like exactly what you just said. And the reason is because, as I told you, I tried for 4 years to run a marathon and failed every single time. I spent 3 to 6 months improving my gut health. And so like, we can come back to that and talk about that if that's where the show goes.
That's very important. Yeah.
And then after I did, I had the year of awesome, right? Remember, I tried and failed for 4 years for a marathon, improves my gut health. And after that, I had the year of awesome. So not only do I run my first marathon, I go on to run my first 50 miler. I do my first Ironman. I do another 50 miler. I do another Ironman. I do a 50K, and then I do 100K, which, okay, by the way, was my 100-mile attempt that I got to 100K.
What is 100K? I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, like I had this year of awesome, and this was last year, and it was just like boom, 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 like success after success, and that certainly showed me the power of gut health. But then, yeah, you're right. Within that and after that, there's been tons of, those quote unquote failures. And yes, like they're so important. Like, you're right. Like, I don't just want to highlight this like year. And again, there's so much that came out of that with gut health and everything else. But yeah, there's been a lot of races that I have not finished. Like, look me up on Ultra Sign Up. It doesn't look good. It looks terrible.
That's
funny. But okay, so what did I learn? So, first of all, in that first 100-mile attempt, so we've already said it. Like, one thing was that I totally embraced that fear of running into and through the night. It was actually beautiful. And so more than beautiful, I don't know how to describe it without, I don't know, really like taking a lot of time on it, but it was a very spiritual experience for me. And it was like things broke down for me at like mile 20. Like I had this, I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure like something tore on the side, like a minor tear on the side of my knee. I'm very familiar with it. And it's one of those that completely stops you. It like starts with the IT band. It's not just discomfort. Like you and I both know, you can have a race where you can spend many, many, many miles with discomfort and pain. But this is one of those that I'm familiar with. It's beyond that. It's like, it's going to stop you. Right.
Yeah.
And so that, that happened really early on. And I came into the, marathon mark, basically about 26-ish miles. And I broke down and cried, and I was like, I'm not going to finish it. We came all the way out here to Tennessee, and like, I can't even get close. And my husband, he truly like pulled out the best wisdom at that point. He said, Lauren, can you get to the next aid station? I was like,
I like it.
Well, yeah, maybe, if I walk, but it's not like I'm going to get anywhere close to finishing. And he was like, can you make it to the next aid station? I was like, well, yeah.
But do I want to?
Yes. Right. I'm like, well, if I hobble with a stick and it takes, okay. So I get over my pity party. And I start walking to the next aid station. And and I walk. I mean, I don't run. Like there's pretty much no running for the rest of the time for me. Like it just wasn't going to happen, but I could walk. And so about 4 or 5 miles later, I come to the next aid station. He's like, "Can you get to the next?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can."
That's so
and
good.
At this point, I'm walking faster. Again, I tried running, like it was not going to happen at all, but I could walk. And so over the next however many miles, I got really, really, really fast at walking. Like I've never walked so quickly ever. And actually it was amazing. I'm walking and I'm passing people, that obviously passed me earlier. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I was very, very determined to finish. And, then at mile like 62-ish, it was just, a little bit before mile 60, it was a complete breakdown. There was no going further.
Yeah.
But I learned you can do a lot walking. You can do a whole heck of a lot if you don't give up walking. If you're able to. And the whole darkness thing. What was the other thing I was going to say? I don't remember. I totally lost it.
It's okay. It's all good. No, that's good. That's good. Recently I had he's from here in Oklahoma, or he lives here in Oklahoma, Isaac Barnowski on the podcast, and he had some injuries going into some of his races. So he couldn't run, and he trained, and he's walked a few 100-milers. He's just like, I'm just going to walk him. And he trained he went walk for like 6 hours to train, It's like, and he did it. He finished it. So like sometimes when our main goal is gone, our finishing time or even our finishing distance, we've got to be able to say, okay, but what can I do, and be able to just kind of change that mindset and not be so disappointed, but keep, I can still accomplish something out here. It might not be what I want, but let's see what I can do. And that's kind of what your husband encouraged you to do without really saying it.
Yeah, he did. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say for in the spring, I went back to Tennessee, same race directors, different race, and attempted a 100-miler again. And pretty much the dynamics were not the same. Like I ran most of it, but I had to stop around 100K mark again.
That's your wall right now. That's your wall right now. We got to break through.
I know. You can bet in the next race, there's going to be like mental things happening around mile 62. Yeah. Funny enough, when my husband first did, this is a little bit different, but when he first did his 100K, he had a friend that he was kind of keeping in touch with me, and he asked where he was, and I was like, well, he's at mile 40 and, having a bit of a breakdown. And his friend told me, he's like, yeah, that moment, two-thirds of the way through. Yeah, that's the hardest. And I had never been that, distance at all. And I was like, oh yeah. And you know what? I've always taken that with me. And I bring that up because, 100K, that's about 2/3-ish of the way through a 100-mile race. But there's something amazing about 2/3 of the way through a race. There can be a complete breakdown there. So I'll be planning for that one for sure.
Nice. What happened on that second one? Just
you know what? So here, this. I hope you're okay with talking about this. I can't imagine that you're not, but it's also not talked about a ton. So I'm a chick. And things happen at least once a month.
Yes.
Chicks,
No, that's
right?
good. Yeah, we can talk about that because I've learned that with coaching that's a very important thing to be aware of. And it's reality. It's reality.
Yeah. Thank you. And I feel like should be talked about a lot more. Yeah. So I'm not, I want to be clear on this. I'm not blaming the fact that I didn't finish my race on this, but it was certainly present and a learning experience for me. So I had my period that day and it was the worst. It was the worst day. And I don't know, how many female ultra runners are out there and they're just like, oh my God. If you're not on an exact calendar, a lot of us are not, you're just like, oh my God, am I going to start that day or not? Or am I going to start right before, right after? Is it going to be within that week or is it going to be the worst day? There are other women who are going through this, right? And I knew that I would likely start. So I was really that had never actually happened. I've been lucky enough up to that point to never do a major race, on that day. And I was, was like going through all the options. So, you know, I talked to the doctors, like, do you make it start early? And I found out there were options. I didn't know if I wanted to do them. It messes with your hormones. Like, there are all these questions for me. And I ended up having, there just ended up being like miscommunication. I couldn't get the prescription. So it kind of took out the choice for me anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember that day, my goal was to, I want to take as little medication as possible. Like, I don't take an ibuprofen unless I absolutely need it. And so my goal was to not need an ibuprofen, to not get to that point where I'm like, really desperate for it till about mile 50. If I can get to mile 50 without an ibuprofen, like I can, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about the race in general. I was pushing at mile 20, like I couldn't hold out anymore. And it was not because of the run per se. It was because I was on, you know, the worst day of my period. Yeah. And so I was navigating, you know, that sort of pain and ibuprofen. So yeah, you know, I think, when I say a learning experience, I don't know if I necessarily mean a learning experience as in, there are a ton of other women that experience this, and maybe there's just a wish that like more people would talk about it and there'd just be more openness about it, because it's something that you end up kind of feeling like you have to hide on race day, you know?
Yeah. I think Camille Herron recently had one of her big races where she had her monthly visitor, and, you know, she posted a little bit about it, which I thought was cool. I mean, like, you know, when she's like, oh, here we go. So guys listening, think about this. You know, all the logistics that we have to, just everybody listening, you know, all the logistics that we have to put into the race, all the things, the contingency plans, all the things you got to prepare for your body to endure. And then, you know, for the ladies, add that to it, you know. I mean, it's already like a mountain, and it's like, let's just add another climb on top of the mountain, you know. And so it's reality, and you know, it's something. I guess anytime you sign up for a race, it's kind of a gamble. You just have to be, you know, like, here we go.
It is, and you know, it's not necessarily a gamble for every woman, just because, you know, the dynamics are different. But for a lot of women, it is, and it's you know, a question of how you're going to deal with it, and you have to plan a lot around that. You know, to be able to handle it that day. Yeah, I appreciate just you like being open to naming that for women out there who are ultra runners and athletes and.
It's reality. It's reality. And listen, if anybody's like balking, look, I've seen some of you guys' feet and other nastiness. You got things you got out there. We can talk about something like this that's natural. All right. You know, come on now. So let's talk about the journey that you've been on. You know, I guess throughout the course of, you know, running and being an athlete and attempting, you know, to do a marathon. So let's go way back. Let's talk about those. I don't want to, I guess we'll put all the failure stuff at the front end, and then we'll finish off with the successes. But
there you go.
You know, because when you started, you had a goal, you wanted to run marathons, and you kept having issues. And so let's start with what gave you the desire to run a marathon? Like what kind of, why'd you want to run a marathon? Like what sparked that?
So, okay. So for me, this is very much a later in life thing. Like I didn't grow up being a runner or anything. Yeah. And so, you know, really just about 7 years ago, so not that long ago. Yeah. I had actually come back from Bangladesh. Okay, I'd been living in another country. And everything surrounding this was a very traumatic thing. Like I went through a very terrible divorce. Everything's like my ex-husband and I. It's like a great co-parenting thing now. It's really wonderful. But at the time, it was very terrible. I'd actually lost my children, my two kids, for about a year to a year and a half, kind of depending on how you look at it. So yeah, there was a lot going on there, and so I. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, everything. Like I was in a very impoverished state. You could look at me and see scarcity. Like, I'm tall and thin, but you could look at me and see how malnourished, like on a physical, emotional, mental level, I was, right?
Yeah.
So this was a very like slow process of coming back to like being a human, right?
Yeah.
So, in the middle of that, I went back to school to get my master's in counseling, and what that meant, and I got a job doing some bachelor level style counseling. What that meant was I was sitting all the time. So I was like, I've got to do something, right?
Yeah.
And so I started walking / jogging about a mile a day. Okay, so again, like 7 years ago, I was walking / jogging a mile a day. Okay, so when people tell me now, when they hear about what I did and what I do with ultra running and triathlon and all that, they're like, I could never do that. I can barely run a mile.
Well,
yeah. So let me tell you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just about 7 years ago. So the progress at that point, David, this is one of those stories. Okay. I met the man who's now my husband.
Nice.
And we start talking, and he is training for his first half marathon at St. Jude's because his daughter, now my stepdaughter, is a St. Jude's patient, and she's cancer free.
Nice.
But
That's awesome.
This was a way of giving back, right? To be part of the marathon weekend. So that, David, is the day that I decided I'm a runner.
Nice. That's great.
So like, we are totally that story, right? So I start training and I start running with him. This is like new for both of us, right? This is like the midlife. We are like creating, new lives for ourselves. Yeah. Certainly individually and together, and we start running. And what a beautiful way to do it. I mean, we live within a couple of miles of a trailhead. So in Louisiana, the longest trail is the Wild Azalea Trail. It's 26 miles. And we live like within a couple miles of two of those trailheads.
It's a great trail. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been on it, yeah?
Oh yeah. I hiked it as a teenager with my dad for the first time. We hiked it and camped out, and then I've run it since then. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So that was like our backyard. So we would, we just kick around on the trails and just run and run. And so that was where like the true love of running came from, just being out on the trails. Certainly, it started with a boy. Yeah. But I mean,
he drove you to that insanity, the ultra. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so, great. But it became internalized, right? And I came to love running. And, as far as like transitioning later into the ultra running scene, the friends that I told you about who, I kind of kept in touch with and on my husband's first 100K, who was like, oh, how is he doing? So this guy, he actually came, his name is Ben. He came to the Wild Azalea Trail Run that happens the first Saturday every January. And he ran 50 miles and he won it. He got first place, and then he hopped in his car and he drove back to North Carolina, where he's from. And my husband and I were just like, whoa, like
what just happened?
We're like, is he immortal? Like, and we just weren't really familiar, with that people do this, right? And it really kind of opened up this question for us, like, wow, what are we capable of?
Yeah, what's possible? Yeah.
Yeah, what is possible? And I'd say that window opening was just the window that just continued to open. And I'm thankful to say, like, I mean, I guess as part of that growth mindset, continues to open. Like, you always kind of want to ask that question, like, what is possible now? Like, what can I do next? Right.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. We need to unpack that for a minute, because one of the reasons I love doing the podcast, I love coaching, when somebody reaches out for coaching, is because they're starting to realize, like, okay, more is possible. And I always say, I was on a call earlier, and it's like, what do you do? I was like, I help people to run their farthest ultra marathon, but they have to have that spark in there to go, like, maybe I can, to even want to talk about it, like it's like it opens up, and like, do you think I can? I was like, well, yeah, it's going to be hard work, but you can, So I just love that, as people, realizing that there's more, and let's figure out how much more. I love that.
Yeah, I really, I don't want to say I struggled, but, you always seem to, if you're going to read anything, any sort of blog or article, like somebody at some point is going to say, you need to know your why. Like if you are attempting to do something that is like bigger than yourself, right? You're going to hear at some point, know your why, right? Like to know your motivation. And strangely, like I really struggled with that for a while. I was like, I don't know why I want to do this stuff. I just do. Like,
I just want to do it.
Right. There's this amazing, probably neurotic drive to do this.
Okay, I have issues, but let me run.
Exactly. And so I was always like, I don't know. I mean, to be healthy, like, just trying to figure out my why. And I remember one day I was actually training for my first half Ironman, and my first triathlon to boot. Nice. And I was on the bike, and I was just like, what is my why? And then it just came to me. I was like, because I can. Yeah, because I can do this. I can. And nobody asks anybody, like if you prefer all, Saturday morning to lay on the couch and eat Cheetos, nobody's asking you what's your why. That's just what they would do.
Thank you. I got a friend who every time I post something about a race, he always in all caps with a bunch of question marks puts why, and I'm like, and a lot of times it's like, because I can, or because the miles are there and they need to be run. I don't know. It's like
yes. Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool.
I love that. Yeah.
So you started that journey and so tell me about what would happen when you would go to run your first marathons. Like what hindered those?
Yeah, so it would be injury, or I don't know if it was necessarily injury, but just extreme pain, and it would usually show up on the side of my knee or on my hip. My hip. And so usually related to IT band stuff, right? Occasionally it'd be like Achilles heel or something, but usually like that was it. It was that kind of pain on the side of my knee that would stop me in my tracks. And I tried everything. I mean everything. Like I got certified in a particular run form. So, I could have really good run form. I, went to a doctor, went to, a physical therapist, went to, sports massage therapist. Like I did everything, you could possibly think of. Did, certain strengthening exercises, and it would just be something a little bit different every time. And it wouldn't, on one day it would be on one knee, and on another run it would be on the other knee, and then it would be the hip, and then I would be fine, and training would be great, and then the day that I'm trying to run the thing, like then it would flare up. So like, frustrating. Yeah. And so there are many days where I just threw my run shoes across the room, and I was like, I'm done. Like I'm just gonna bike and or whatever. And that was originally why I got into doing triathlon, because I was like, I need like mentally to just not be so I don't know, not hardcore with running. That's not what I want to say, but I needed something so that I wasn't getting frustrated. That's what it was. I needed to get out of a mental cycle of being frustrated with running. Yeah,
you needed to be able to move, but with so she's found other avenues to move, bike and swim and run a little bit.
Exactly. Not to undermine the running, but yes, exactly. So so I mean that's what it always was, is it just was some sort of extreme pain that would stop me. And so at some point I get a little marketing email in my inbox. About some company that tests for gut health. And so I'm like, what is this? I was completely unfamiliar with anything about gut health at that point. So I check it out, and getting interested enough that, I sign up for the little 20-minute informational webinar, and I'm just like, damn it, they're going to end up selling me something. I know it, but I was curious, right?
That's right. That's right. But wait, there's more.
And they did, and they won.
But it helped.
Yes. So I, got my gut health tested, and I got the results. And, basically, like if you were going to give it a grade system, which they do not, but, they presented it in such a way that if I was going to like attach a grade to my score, I got an F.
Really?
And Lauren Callahan is not somebody that like gets an F and is okay with it.
This is unacceptable. What must I do to fix this now?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I did what I would never like recommend to any of my own clients to do is I changed everything like right away.
Oh yeah. That sounds familiar. I would do the same thing.
Is that what makes us ultra runners? Like we're
I don't know,
freaking
whatever,
like driven
just
and neurotic or something.
Just clean out the whole pantry, a whole fridge, and just change it all.
Yeah. And to be clear, it wasn't bad. It's not like I was eating badly. Like I was not, my husband and I had already like made many changes to be healthy and, on the whole, just to be healthy people. So, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty important point. It's not like we were sitting around eating Cheetos, drinking beer all day. Like that wasn't it.
Well, you are in South Louisiana or Central Louisiana, so I don't know, maybe too much boudin or some cracklings or.
Well, funny you say that because neither one of us will eat pork.
Oh, really?
So there's none of that.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, really, like hardly any fried food. No boudin, cracklings, no pork. We had already like majorly cut down on the sugar. Next to none. So I mean, we were eating like really healthy. So, to get
it's kind of a shock.
Yes.
Yeah.
My gut health, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So I did all the things that were recommended to the best of my understanding. And within about a 3-month period, and then I got retested and kind of saw where there were some gaps there, and so improved it more. So really, like a 3 to 6 month period where I made like way too many changes and did more than I should have changed. But I was just driven, right? Like I was very committed.
Yeah.
And after that, lo and behold, I go out to run a marathon. I was actually going out for a training run. So a little side note here, by this point, like I had attempted an Ironman and not finished it, but I came really close, like mile 137 out of 140 or
oh man, that's hard. So, that's tough.
Yeah. So, and that was in Tulsa. Okay. So what that meant though, was that I got really close to finishing a marathon. Yeah. And so mentally, I had moved on. I wasn't interested in signing up for a marathon anymore. Now I moved on to the 50 miler. I was like, I'm really close. Surely that's enough, right?
It was there. It was practically there.
Yeah. So mentally, I'd gone into the 50 miler. So when I went out and actually did run my first marathon, it was actually just a training run for the 50 miler. I was in the woods. Nobody was around. I was only supposed to run about 20 miles that day. And I was like, I can do this day. Then I'm going to do this. And so I went on a 26.2. I made sure.
Oh yeah.
And I took a picture of my watch and called my husband. I was like, I did
it. Nice. Yeah.
So, that was, after that 3 to 6 month period of working to improve my gut health, I go out, I run a marathon, I do my 50 miler, I go on to do an Ironman. I was like, wow. What else can I do? So I do the other 50 mile, do the other Ironman. Like I keep on going, right? And so it just, improving my gut health opened up some major doors. And what I want to say too is I want to put this in a broader perspective of just health. I mean, because that's, we have a lot of reasons or maybe we don't have any reasons. Maybe we're just, neurotically driven.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of us like, we're doing this because we want to be healthy. And so to put this in a broader perspective, yes, I did all of those things. I mean, it like totally unlocked a door for me as far as, athletics. But what I would also say was that along the way, there were many moments that I was all of a sudden like, whoa, I had gotten to where I wasn't sleeping at night. Like I couldn't fall asleep. It would take me forever. And now I fall asleep. Like I don't have a problem with that. And then I'd have another day that I'd be like, oh my God, like I'd started having this major anxiety, like all the time, like especially at night. It would keep me up. And I was like, no, I don't, for the most part. Right. And then I'd have these other moments. I'd be like, oh my God. I had, these gastrointestinal issues of a variety of sorts. And then, I kind of had the same, I was like, wait a minute, that's not a thing anymore. So like I had all these moments. I had no idea how connected to everything gut health is. On top of it had allowed me to way reduce inflammation in my body and way improve my recovery so that I'm not like the knee thing still shows up for me, but not in the way that it did because inflammation slower, because I can recover a lot faster. Because I can train better, because I don't have all those other things. Like I'm sleeping and I don't have the anxiety, like all of those things, right? It's connected to everything.
That is crazy. And so it's been amazing in the past, I guess, few years, how you've heard I've been hearing a lot more about like gut health, and I've actually heard it called the second brain.
Yes.
because it influences so much. And so when you think of the amount of your guts, I mean, and how much space it takes up and how much goes on in there, it makes sense that, man, maybe our gut health should be, we should do something about it. I even heard, I don't know if I want to go there. I'm just going to say it. So I even heard that there are some elite athletes that sell their poop, and you can take poop pills to get your gut health, your gut biome to look like theirs. Probably don't want to talk about that right now. Yeah, that's a real thing. Like you can do that.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so like you can make your gut bi. Yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but we're gonna let's continue.
Wow.
So no, but I love. Okay, so a few things about this story is I love that you you had moments of frustration, but you kind of kept like, all right, let's try this. And who would have thought that? Because all the route you're taking is the route we've all taken. You get injuries. You got to do physio things. We're going to do some cross training. We're going to work out here. I'm going to stand on a Bosu ball and throw a ball at a trampoline and try to get my proprioception correctly. Yeah, correct. And I'm going to do some, split squat, whatever. You do all the things that you're supposed to, and then you still have issues. It's frustrating is all get at. You're like, I've done everything that I should. And then when the light goes, when you discover that, and I didn't even think about when you said, the other things with your gut health. So you get your gut healthy, and I want to talk a little bit about that, on what you did. But you're like you said, you're sleeping better. If you're sleeping better, you're recovering better. Like that's one of the things that I've always struggled with, because I'm an early riser, and if I don't get to bed early, I just don't sleep a lot. And you need that. Your body has to assimilate the training that you put in and has to recover. You need that. So you're sleeping better. Inflammation, man, there's so much information about inflammation. And so, there's so much out there on the negative effects, and you want to recover. Anytime we're going to do a long run or things like that, there is inflammation, but the quicker it can pass and, your body recovers, the better. And then you didn't talk about this, but you may, I guess, even if your gut is healthy, when you're running and when you're, having to fuel your run on the run, I would imagine, the healthier gut, you can process what you're taking in on the runs better to fuel your run.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so you made this discovery. What were you said you don't recommend doing all the things that you did or whatever, but I guess what were the top things that you felt like for you? Because I know everybody's got different guts. Everybody's eating different things. Somebody's doing boudin cracklings. Somebody's, but what were the major things that helped you go from a F to I guess a B or A? I don't know what your gut health ended up being.
Not an A yet, for sure.
Okay, all right.
And before I answer that, I do really want to highlight what you just said, because it's so true. Like, it depends. It depends on the person. Like, certainly there are like general principles that for most people are true. But it is different for every person. And actually, if you don't mind, I'll share a little story that kind of illustrates that. Okay. So when I did first get my test results, what I found out was one of the gut metabolites that gets tested. So the company that I use and that I use now with my clients, they test for 11 different gut metabolites. There are many, but these are the ones that show up again and again and again as like really relevant to like your gut being your second brain. Okay. But one of them is 3-methylxanthine. Okay. And 3-methylxanthine is a reflection of inflammation that is related to caffeine in your body. So what I love is that you can just know this. Like that. Yeah.
I'm drinking coffee for those of you who are listening. I just held my cup up.
Yeah. What I love is that you're not the first podcast host that has been like, oh my God, and held up your cup of coffee.
You were waiting for it. You just, yeah.
Right. So this is one that gets tested, and mine was high. And here's the thing, like, it floored me. I couldn't believe it because I'm a tea drinker. Like, I don't even drink coffee.
Oh, wow.
I drink,
and tea has caffeine, but not like coffee. Yeah.
I mean, it's black tea, and I do, like, I drink it strong, or I used to drink it stronger. Like, it'd be like 2 tea bags in cup, and I might have like 2 or 3 a day. But still, like, I was a tea drinker.
That's right. I let it cook down, and I concentrate it, but it's just a few.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, well, so I began the process of like tapering that a little bit, and now I actually really don't drink that much. And again, notice the difference and the inflammation coming down in my body. But here's the thing. So now I'm like sold on gut health, right? And like, it makes such a difference in my life. I can feel the difference in a million different ways. So my husband gets tested, right? So when his results come back, I'm thinking, holy cow, like his 3-methylxanthine is be like off the freaking charts because
he's caffeine addict. Yeah,
he was, and it's different now.
But then Lauren told him he can't drink it anymore.
I know, right? It's terrible. No. At the time, though, I mean, he could put away some coffee. Like, I mean, I joked with my daughter one time. I was like, if we ever are poor, it's going to be because of the amount of money we spend on coffee, and not even like expensive Starbucks coffee. We're talking like Kroger grocery store coffee.
That's great.
But here's the thing: he got his results, and he was like a little high, but not that much. Yeah,
that's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, and his caffeine intake was crazy. I couldn't believe.
His body just processes it differently. I guess
his gut health is just different.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, okay, his gut health is different, and here's a point that I want to bring up too, is that he's a dude. And in my experience, this is completely based on my own experience and my work with my clients. This is not based on like some sort of research. Okay, so take it from what you will. Yeah. But I have never tested a woman's gut health who had a better starting point than a man's.
Oh, wow.
Like they could work to improve up to that point, but their starting point. And here's the thing: I'm not like these are guys who are like, on the most part, like my husband would be an exception here, but on the most part, like these are guys who are just like, oh yeah, I'm basically healthy. But I mean, it's like at lunch they have a quote unquote salad, and it's like iceberg lettuce, like swimming in ranch, and like beer all day long. I'm pretty healthy. And their gut health is better starting out than a woman who's like truly doing things all day long.
That's crazy.
Healthy. Yes.
That is wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I were to guess here, in general, yes, he just had better gut health. And so he was able to process and handle the caffeine in a way that I wasn't. So to bring it back around, yes, a general principle would be, if you cut down on caffeine, that will probably help your gut. It'll probably help your gut health overall, but everybody's gut truly is different.
Yeah. No, I just pictured you when you said you did all the things. I was like, there's nothing in the fridge but kimchi and sauerkraut and a fermented cheese. I don't know. It's like whatever. It just... Yeah.
I did. Well, okay. So as far as what I did to improve my gut health, I did have a period at first where, so one of the things that, in general helps people improve their gut health is having at least one fermented food daily. And so for a while I was on the train of that, like having a different fermented food every day. So it was the only thing in my fridge, but yes, we had kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha, like yogurt, all of that in the fridge. I would say that I burned out a little bit on that because there are only a couple of those that I actually like. So, I'm very much a food first person, but I decided with that one, I'm just going to go with having, a probiotic sometimes. And supplement with fermented food. Although I do make my own kombucha now. It's really good. I absolutely love it. I'd recommend anybody try it.
I tried it once, and I don't remember what brand it was, but I didn't like it. But I hadn't tried any. I hadn't tried any since then. So I might have to try a different brand or something. I don't know.
Maybe it's a little bit different. It is.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, no. So that's pretty interesting. And do you find? I guess, are you seeing as you go through and as your clients get tested and you're helping guide them through the process of what to eat and how to correct their gut health? Are you finding that they are pretty varied according to the people? I mean, their issues.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I would say, especially among women, so I primarily work with women, especially among women, the things that I tend to see over and over and over again are, for one thing, one gut metabolite that tends to be really high is xanthine. Xanthine, it sounds like a food additive. I don't know why I'm thinking that.
Yeah, it does. Like xanthan gum. I think of
Yeah,
xanthan
that's
gum.
what it is. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So xanthine is a gut metabolite that is a marker of stress. And that is physical stress, emotional, mental, okay, all the things. And it translates into inflammation in your body. Okay. So if your xanthine is high, I mean, it could be high because, for example, you're an athlete that is overtraining, or because you were trying to run 1,000,000 miles in Louisiana heat, right? Or
that'll do it.
It could be because, you have a source of, mental stress, like at work, or you've got something going on in your family, right? So all the things, right? Any sort of stress, xanthine doesn't know which one it is. It just knows that you're stressed, and so it is high. And so what I'll tell you is that if you are an athlete, it is probably high. Okay. So you have inflammation from that. There are things that you can do about that. Okay. But also for women in particular, this tends to be like really, really high. And especially if it's a female athlete. Okay. So we're looking at like some huge inflammation, often for females and female athletes because of a high xanthine level. The other one that tends to be really awful in women, and this is not always the case. I actually tested a woman recently that it was totally within optimal levels. It really surprised me because I just so rarely see it. Is serotonin. So serotonin is actually, is a little known fact. Serotonin is a gut metabolite, and a lot of us are familiar with it because serotonin is a neurotransmitter. It's related to your mood. Okay? If you were going to go on an antidepressant, that is like medication that's related to your serotonin. Okay. But little known fact is that 90% of serotonin in your body is actually produced in your gut.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this tends to be, again, this is in my experience, what I've seen with my clients. This tends to usually be very low with women. And so let me paint the picture here. Like serotonin is a gut metabolite that is a derivative of tryptophan. Okay. So tryptophan is like an essential amino acid. And here's why, and I'll explain the science. I'm glad you said that, because so tryptophan, like people think like Thanksgiving turkey. So think like chicken thighs, like free range eggs, like quality proteins, right? So you get your tryptophan, and then it breaks down into serotonin. Okay, so now you can feel happy and in a good mood. And then your serotonin further breaks down into melatonin.
What?
Melatonin. Yes, exactly. So your body like knows how to do all that. Like theoretically, if you have a healthy gut and that everything can process the way it needs to, you don't have to go buy the gummies. Like you don't have to go buy the gummies. And then, this is very cyclical because serotonin in and of itself is huge for initiating digestion. So let's bring it back around to you talking about like, runners like on the run. Whether you're on the run or not, like your ability to digest and to take in like the actual nutrients in that food. I think if you don't have serotonin, you can't initiate digestion. Like the whole process breaks down, right?
Wow.
So that is one that I often see off in women in particular. Although, like I said, I had a client recently. That
always exceptions to the rule. When you're running, I was explaining to one of the runners I coach about, training your gut, eating when you run, figuring out what works well for you. Cause what you take in might work for you, but not for me, or vice versa, what our stomach can tolerate. But you're already stressing your gut because, when you're running, your blood flow goes to your muscles. It goes to cooling you down, especially in Louisiana and Oklahoma right now. And so you're not, so if you're already stressing your gut like that during the run and trying to eat, and you've got, I don't know, your gut level, your biome's all off, and you're just adding to it, it's even more issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So that's pretty awesome how it just kind of opened your eyes to that issue. And then now you're helping others, with finding the same success that you found doing it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as you can see, coming at it from many different ways. So for example, I mentioned xanthine, that's, I mean, it would make sense to automatically think about nutrition when it comes to gut health. And yes, nutrition is like number one. But as you can see, for example, with xanthine, that's not necessarily nutrition related. That is stress related, right? So,
yeah.
if you're going to improve your gut health, it's a whole big picture of addressing your nutrition for sure, but addressing stress as well, addressing sleep, because it's your gut health affects your sleep, but your sleep also affects your gut health. They interplay. So a lot of different factors to look at.
Well, it's pretty good, especially as somebody who coaches runners, because I tell people, we end up, you're talking with them, you find out what's going on, and I tell them, like, I need to know this doesn't. Okay, I was in ministry before, and I people have told me all, I've heard everything, but I need to know what's going on in your life, because like stress, if you've got something very stressful going on in your life, your body interprets all stress as stress. Running, exercising too much, and life issues, all the things, and that will they affect each other, and if you've got major things going on, then that will affect your ability to have a large workload in running and be able to recover appropriately. And so anyway, so it's kind of like both of us are, you got to deal with the whole person to some extent. Like, I'm not going to try to, I don't know everything about the gut. I can say, check this out or whatever. Go talk to them. But it's helpful to, like, to know, talking to you, like, okay, well, somebody that we've tried all these other avenues, maybe you need to check out your gut health. Maybe let's look at that and see if that's part of your issue.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking with a woman the other day who, she does the things, to be healthy and, to follow her training plan and, everything she has to do to like address the whole picture. And we tested her gut health, and we found out, there were just a couple of gut metabolites that were pretty off and fixable. Again, I mean, like, nothing is broken there. I hate even using the word fixable, but,
right.
Improvable.
Tweakable.
Is that tweakable? Yes. There you go. Yeah. And so, we started looking at those things, and she was like, oh my God, I've been having these issues in my feet and my hands, and I've been going to, a physical therapist. And he's basically like, nothing is wrong here. And maybe that's what I hear a lot. A lot of women in particular that go to, a doctor, a physical therapist or something like that to address whatever's going on. And they're just being told, like, everything's normal, from their like perspective and scope of practice and expertise, right? Like, everything's normal, nothing's wrong. And they're just like, everything's not normal,
Yeah, I know my body. It's not right.
Yes, yeah. And then we check their gut health, and it's like, oh, that's the specific things that she had going on. It made sense why she had pain in her feet. Like, there was a specific inflammation thing related to a gut metabolite that would cause inflammation in the feet, right? Like,
yeah.
And so, we didn't know that, right? Until we could look and see exactly what was going on.
Yeah. So when somebody comes to you, obviously, they know there's a possible issue. Either they know there's an issue, or they want to check things out to just maybe help and be optimal. What does that process look like? If somebody comes to you and, just what does that process look like?
Yeah, so I work with people for 4 months, and that's because there's you don't want to make all the changes in a week, right? Like, right. Which was basically what I did, and that normally doesn't work with people. But I work with people for 4 months, and it goes back to what you and I were just saying. Like, people aren't robots. Like, there are a million things that need to be addressed. So one of the first things that we do is get somebody's gut health tested so that we know exactly what we're working with from that perspective. And then we do, we make it like a step-by-step process of doing all the things to improve your gut health. And then, we address all the things, right? Like, we were just talking about like stress in your life, right? Like, we address all of those things. Like how do you make your self-care a priority? Like how do you care for yourself? Which, by the way, is not selfish. This is a soapbox of mine. Like being selfish is not selfish. Being selfish is one of the most selfless things that you can do. And it's a gift to the world for you to love yourself and care for yourself, because you're much better able to love other people. So we, we do a lot of that around, you are training for an event, or, running or training to be healthy, or, whatever it is, right? How do you reduce stress in your life? How do you care for yourself? We also take time on like inflammation reducing practices. And so one of the specific reasons that I do this is because I tend to work with women in midlife, so 40s and 50s. So if you think about that time period, at some point, a woman is going to be in menopause. Mm-hmm. And for a period before that, they're going to be in perimenopause. Here's the thing. A lot of women do not know that they are in perimenopause. So they're having all kinds of like hormone fluctuations that they don't know about. And they don't realize they're in that period. But the reason that I bring up the inflammation reducing practices is because perimenopause and menopause, they are pro-inflammatory processes.
Oh,
because if you think about it, like once a woman hits menopause and has stopped having their period, basically they're not producing like during that whole period, their estrogen and progesterone levels are declining. Estrogen is in and of itself an anti-inflammatory.
Oh,
so a woman, by merely existing and living in midlife,
staying alive,
by staying alive, they are living a pro-inflammatory process.
Fantastic. Be a woman.
I know. I'm not making it sound really great. I love being a chick, but
I'm glad I'm a dude. No.
So we spend time on being very intentional about reducing inflammation, so that you can have much better recovery and just lower that inflammation and improve your health overall, and certainly improve your training.
Nice. Well, that's fantastic. And so for people who are listening who are thinking, golly, that sounds like they've tried all the things, and they're how do they get in touch with you? How do they find out if that's something they need to do? What do they do?
Yeah, so my website is super easy. It's my name, Lauren B. Callahan, B for Brianna. So laurenbcallahan.com. And you can reach me there. My email is easy too, lauren@laurenbcallahan.com.
Gotcha.
So you can just check out the website. I do have a free like a webinar on there called the 4 things that every woman needs to know. Okay. Specifically women in midlife.
Nice. And I'll make sure I'll have those links in the show notes, and I'll put in in the post that we do on social media. I'll make sure we have those links on there. But
cool.
So what's next for you, Lauren? I mean, you're helping others. You're doing that. What are you training right now? Are you recovered from? I think you were injured, weren't you?
Yeah. So it was that good old knee tear that showed up in my last race. Yeah. So this is the hippie in me is going to come out now. So I'm.
Here we go.
Okay, so for listeners who cannot see, like I have this like tattoo on my shoulder. It's a dogwood, but on the back, I don't know if I can show you the video. There's a horse on there, and that is because on the Wild Azalea Trail, which we talked about earlier, which is near where I live, there exist wild horses.
Yeah, I've seen them before. It's pretty awesome.
Have you? Okay, yes. Oh my
awesome.
God, it is so amazing to come across that. Like they still exist in the United States.
That happens. Like it's not a dog. It's a horse. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And actually, I saw. I didn't even think about this, but I saw them on my first 50 miler that I did. That was on the Wild Azalea Trail, and they showed up there in the middle of the night. I saw their blinking eyes. It was great. I love it. I feel very connected to the Wild Azalea Trail and everything on it, and just nature in general. Like I'm a total hippie at heart. And so anyway, at some point, I hear about this race in Vermont called the Vermont 100.
Yes.
Are you familiar with?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've had some friends that have done it. It's supposed to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I may be getting some details wrong here, and I apologize to whoever's listening if I'm getting this wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's the only existing ultra run race that still has combined runners with horseback riders.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. So yeah, so you run this race, the Vermont 100, and you're running right alongside horses, and so I'm just like, oh my god, I'm totally in love. And then
I am in. I'm bringing sugar cubes and carrots.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything better than like running through the night underneath the stars with horses. So I mean, that's me, right? So it is a lottery system, but I signed up for the race. I did not get my qualifier, so I won't be doing the 100 miler, but I will be doing the 100K.
Okay.
In July. So
nice.
I'm super excited about that.
Nice. I have never been to Vermont, but I'm wondering. I heard it's a great race. I don't know what the temperatures will be like, but you're training in the on the surface of the sun, so you'll be ready for it. So
yeah, like somebody in a face group somewhere mentioned, it's great. It's just hot and humid. I was like, I think I got that one.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think I got that humid.
I'm good.
I don't want to be like, I'm not going to say that is not going to get me on the seat because humidity affects me. But it's all that to say, like, it will not be foreign to me.
That's right. You at least have some tolerance built up to it. No.
Yeah.
And I'm looking on the website right now, and I do see some people running and some people with horses right next to it. So I had no idea about that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's very cool. And I have a special love for the New England area. Just my dad and my stepmom live there, and
nice.
I used to go there every single summer, as a child, and we're gonna go visit them in July right before the race. So I love that area. I'm very excited about being there.
Sweet. So the last, I guess this would be the last question, but what? And I do have another question for you, but sure. So got to get the 100-mile monkey off your back. So where do you think? Since you can't do that one for Vermont, what are you thinking?
Yeah, probably. I'm going to go probably. And I say that I'm glad I'm saying this out loud. I think it's very important to set an intention.
There you go.
And so I need to set the intention.
On the podcast.
Exactly. So one that I definitely want to do, I want to go back to Fall Creek Falls, Tennessee, which was where I attempted my first one last year. So I want to go back. And they're a great, the couple that, they're the race directors. They're really cool. I just enjoyed it. They're, I don't know, they're really good, really laid back, and just a really beautiful area. And they have a really cool looking belt buckle.
Nice. That's important. That's very important.
It's very important. So I do intend to go back there. I think the only up in the air thing with me is if I attempt something earlier.
Gotcha.
So that's what I still need to decide on.
All right. Well, definitely be rooting for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely want you to succeed.
And you as well. Aren't you about to, you had knee surgery and you probably talked about this a ton, but you're about to go do 100 miler, is that right?
Yeah. So I finally got into High Lonesome. It's high altitude, true mountain race. I've been wanting to do it. It's beautiful. And then I am going to be like highly undertrained from what I am used to, but I managed to get
because of the surgery. Okay.
Oh yeah. So I've only been able to run for like a few weeks now, but I got up to 60 miles last week. Knee's doing fine, and so there might be some power hiking involved. Hopefully the altitude doesn't kill. I'm just trying to get fit right now because us lowlanders, to go into altitude, we just have to be as fit as possible, and doing some sauna stuff and just being outside, existing outside right now is enough to. Yes. And so those adaptations will help. So so we'll see. I make no promises, but I'm going to give it all that I got with the training that I have and the extra weight that I put on without being able to run. So we'll see what happens.
Well, as we've learned today, walking, you can do a lot while you're walking.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Gratitude goes a really long way, right?
That's right. I am going to bring like a lot of what we talked about with gratitude. I'm just going to be thankful to be out there in the mountains anytime. Like, and look, you kind of said it earlier. You blamed it on your hippie heart, but I think anytime we can be out in the beauty of creation, that we can be out in it and moving on our feet. I don't know. We should be thankful for that, and that we're able to be out there. We're able to move, and so that's what I'm going to take with me. And for some reason, I don't get it done. I won't get it done, but but I'm going to give it everything that I have, and do my very best, and be thankful that I can be out in the mountains. So
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, we're rooting for you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Well, Lauren, thanks for jumping on and sharing. And hey, like I tell all my runners, while you're training, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
That's right.
All right. Well, you
thank
take
you,
care.
David. Yeah, you as well.